everybody. Welcome to the Canine Connection podcast. So today, Lori and I are going to talk a little bit about where we're at with what we're doing with Stormy and Ever, and that I think is going to lead us into some additional topics. So at my last trial, like Lori and our friend Deb were saying to me, like, Zesh looks like he's really worried about what I think, like, he's feeling pressure from me in essence, right? Is that what you would say?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean,
And
yeah.
so I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't put pressure on him. But it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what he perceives, right?
Right.
So, okay. So then Deb made a suggestion of like, just go somewhere, go different places and just bring him out of the car and have him like do some behaviors. But I kind of thought a lot about my like just where he was at or how I was feeling, and I was always feeling lately like I'm begging him, like I'm dragging him, like I'm pulling him. And I'm like, I don't understand that, like, cuz I shape things, I do games, whatever. But then I said, "All right, let me go back and do one of these like foundational things which I've done in the past and taught him in the past and see what happens." So basically, I just walk around my garage and I wait for him to offer something, and I had nothing. And I was
Mm.
like, "All right, never mind going to new places and just being like, okay, do these behaviors until he brings it to the table." I'm like, "I got nothing here. Like, I can't even start there." Like, he's, like, just standing there walking with his head down, like, I don't know what happened. So, I was like, "All right." So, I put I don't know if this even makes sense or if he perceives it the way I do, but I took a bag of treats, sealed, and
Mhm.
I took, a toy and I just threw him on the ground, and then I walked around, right? And I waited and I waited, and eventually he picked up the toy and kinda wandered over and looked at me, and I immediately went, "Wow," exploded, we tugged, and it was so interesting because in the past I've tried to get him to tug in situations, and it always feels coercive, like, it feels like I'm like, "Come on, tug," and eventually he does, but even when he's growling and tugging, there's still part of me that felt like it was, I don't know, like
Like a
he wasn't 100% into it.
right.
This was different. He was tugging, he was like, "Game on." So, I did that for a few sessions, and then it got better and better, like, he would grab the toy and come running up to me. So then I was like, "Okay, grab the toy." Now I waited for him to, like, jump on me and push me. And then one day he went to the treats and he was sniffing the treats and sniffing the treats. So that said to me he wants the treat. But I'm like, "Well, you have to do something. You have to like be more clear. Like tell me you want the treat. Like do something."
Right.
So he looked at me, I looked at him, I looked at the treat, I looked at him, I looked at the treat. Like you can have the treat, but you got to do something. Like but I didn't cue him. I didn't
Right.
say what can you do? I didn't do my usual thing where I stand up really tall cuz that's a cue. I just controlled myself and did nothing. I think it's also super important. I should backtrack. Like when I was doing this, I went into my garage and I was like, I could be out here for an hour. That's fine. I can't get annoyed or frustrated because I created this. So I
Mhm.
was perfectly content to wander aimlessly in a circle for as long as I needed to without getting frustrated, without getting annoyed, without trying to manipulate the situation, like look at him or do something. That is the hardest part as a human.
Yeah. The control piece.
Yeah, to do nothing, right? And just
Yes.
wait for them.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Well,
so
that's the thing, like, just so people who are listening can kinda get a little bit of a visual on it, like, it's easy enough for us to pull a dog out and we like you that word manipulate, that's a perfect word, like, we can sort of create behavior. We can manipulate the situation. We could be the ones to be pressing the start button on the engine. But we really want like that activation to come from the dog, right? Like we want to be the ones who are absolutely not initiating, and we want the dogs to be almost activating and pushing us. Let's do the thing. Even if it is for the motivator, even if it's for the bag of treats on the ground or the toy on the floor, like we want them to be pushing to do something to get the motivator, right?
Right. So, and I didn't train him. I should also say that. I didn't do competition behaviors for
Yep.
however
Right.
many days. I just wanted to work on this piece, right? Because I felt like if I started to add behaviors, then that would add pressure, right? From
Yep.
his end,
Yep.
which I didn't want. So we just got to where we were playing freely. And if he wanted a cookie, he would offer me some behaviors. And then I would give him some cookies, but I wouldn't just hand him cookies. I made it super fun. I was like, ready, ready, ready. Which way? This way, that way. Toss a cookie made it like super exciting. Right. And
Mhm.
then I put it down. I turn my back to him, walk away, and go in a circle. And so more very quickly, because he does have a history. If your dog has zero history with this, the process is gonna take much longer,
Mhm.
right? But he has a history. So pretty quickly, I'd go out in the garage and he'd immediately like pick up a toy, start pushing me, or indicate he wanted a treat, start offering behaviors. Fine. So then I just threw a couple little obedience. Oh, then what I did was I put the toy and the food down, and I also put a dumbbell down and a glove down. I just scattered it around. And pretty quickly he started running and like grabbing the dumbbell and bouncing in front of me or grabbing the glove and running up to me. And then I'd go, yes. And then he would get whichever reinforcer he wanted.
Mhm.
Um, but again, his choice. I didn't look at the stuff. I didn't say, go get it. It was just there. I wanted him to pick it because I feel like he's got some baggage with those two exercises. So then, when that was all going really well, I was like, okay, like, let me just throw the dumbbell. So I threw the dumbbell. I think I have this on video. I'm going to post it. He ran out to get it. And then fucking labs. There was a piece of the matting because I had just finished putting the mat down, and he thought it was a treat. So he leaves the dumbbell, he runs and goes to the mat. Now, what did I do? Nothing.
Which was
Because
try.
I felt like if I said no, I said go get the dumbbell,
Mhm.
guess what? We're back to me running the show. And now we're not offering, right?
Right.
So I just walked over, picked up the dumbbell myself like a good human retriever, and told him, "Dude, that's the mat. Don't eat that, please." Put everything started over. Let him offer again, whatever. Got to the point, got the dumbbell, threw it, ran out, ran beautiful, like beautiful, beautiful. Yes, no front, no finish. Tug. I was done. Um So then the other day, I did it in the morning kind of as like a refresher, like, here's the toy, let's do our little game. Then I went to the Lowe's and I was like, okay, if he decides to do it, he'll do it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. He gets to choose. Right. So I brought him out of the car, had the stuff on the floor already on the ground outside. I was actually outside the store because I felt inside, I wanted to do a little bit easier. And then I just walked him there and I stood there and I let him look around. I let him sniff, whatever, do his own acclimation. And I did nothing. And I just waited. And then relatively quickly, he started engaging and doing the whole game thing. And then that was it. I just left. I wasn't like, oh, well, good. Let me do more. I was like, oh, good. He did it here. That's awesome. I left. So then it
Okay.
was super interesting. I had my training with my 2 training partners.
Mhm.
So I went in there and and they understand. I explained, "This is what I'm doing. I'm not training Zaina. I may not be doing any exercises when it's my turn. We just might be standing here for a while." And it took him a really while before he picked up his toy. And once he did, I did a really good tugging game, and then I just put him away because it took him a while.
Yep.
So I felt like we're just going to play. So then it was my turn again. He came out once or twice, he came out relatively quickly, got going. Again, we just did some play. I'm trying to remember if I even did any exercises at all. Probably not. One time he came out and he just was sniffing the ground, and my training partner's like, "He's just displacing, like, he's not really there's nothing out here," like, so we just let him for a little bit, and he didn't check in. I just put him away, not as a punishment, but, like, he clearly, in that moment, was not choosing
Right.
to work, right?
Right.
Like, he was choosing not to. So if I waited and waited or forced it again, what am I doing? I'm forcing the issue.
Right.
So I put him away. I didn't say, naughty dog. I just said, okay, buddy, go in your crate. There you go. You get to choose, right? Skipped his turn, took him back out. He came out, ran right for his toy, started tugging right away. And I think part of it too is he has to put it together. And he's probably in that environment. I've probably at some point, clearly, not probably, I shifted the relationship inadvertently, right?
Right.
And so he has a stronger, like, whatever feelings there. But I still felt like overall it was a success. And then yesterday, I went to a different training building. It was me and 3 other people. And, I was like, I had Zaina, so I'm like, if he doesn't wanna work, he doesn't have to. So I got in a little bit ahead of them, put my stuff on the floor, let him look around. He's been in this building before, but whatever. And then pretty quickly he picked up his toy, which I should even say the fact that he's choosing his toy over food, like I tried to get him to choose his toy over food. He never would again because I
Yeah.
was trying.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating that now more like 80% of the time he's choosing his toy over the food. Which if you know him is a miracle because he's, like,
Right.
obsessed with
Right.
food.
Right.
So picked a toy, we tugged, um, and, he picked the dumbbell and the glove off the floor, and he was like, "Let's go, let's work." And I was like, "Okay." Put him in his crate. So we start training, it's my turn, I take him out of the crate, I wait, I'm like, "If he doesn't pick something, I'll put him back and take Zayna." Nope. He wanted to work, and then he started throwing himself into heel position and bouncing like crazy. So I'm like, "All right, let's see what you can do." So I didn't even pre-cue my ring entrance because 'cause I'm standing in front of it. He's smart. He's done this a million times. He
Right.
knows. I didn't even say it. I just leaned, and he started bouncing, and I went in. And then I didn't give him my transition pre-cue. I just leaned forward like, "Are you good? Can we go?" And he's like, "Let's go." Right?
Nice.
Um, I for whatever exercise we did, I didn't even do my pre-cues or my usual, like, bounce, bounce, bounce. I just did nothing. He started bouncing, and then I just did my pivot, sent him, and then for everything, I just yesed it, no fronts, no finishes. I had cookies on me, which I usually don't, which I know kinda changes the situation a little, but for the step I'm at, I didn't care. Like, cause I just want him to offer, get rewarded for offering, and be happy. And I think he came out every single time. I think one time he came out and acted weird, and I just put him back in his crate and took Zaina out.
Yep.
Did her. Then when it was Zaina's turn, I said, "Okay, you can have another chance. If you don't want to, you don't have to. If you want to." He comes out, he's like, grabs the toys like, "Let's go."
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so I think over time, I want to start without having the food and toy out. That'll be the next step, I think. I don't know, I'm
Right,
making this up as I go, right? And see if he chooses and offers, and then I'll present and let him pick maybe,
right,
which which one he wants. I know in the past, sometimes, like, I've trained and said, "Toy, you're getting your toy," and he goes, "I don't want the toy," and I'm like, "You're getting the toy because I marked toy, and I want you to." I'm not gonna do that. I'm not like, I think at one point, I wanted to give him the toy, and he was like, "No." I said, "Okay, here's food." Like, no argument. "You want food? You can have food. I don't care. Here."
yeah, yep, yep, yep,
'Cause again, that would be me saying, "I want to reward you with the toy," and he's like, "But I want food, and I would rather have food." So I'm like, "Fine. You want food? You can have food. You
yeah,
did
I
your
guess I
job."
yeah, and I've gotten that too sometimes with, like, I say game, so, like, if that's gonna be their reinforcer, I go, "Game," and they're supposed to look on the floor, or they know I'm gonna give them their toy, and if they opt out, it's kind of a tricky thing. If they opt out and they're like, "Well," I can clearly see, like, they're like, "Yeah, I don't really want that, hand over the cookies." Then I go, "You don't want your game? Alright, I just put them away." Because I get a little like, I don't that gets a little tricky because I get what you're saying, like, you don't wanna put more pressure on, like, "You must have this. This is your reinforcer," but at the end of the day too, like, I don't want them calling shots on what reinforcer they get, you know what I mean?
I think
So
it d
I
I
keep it very, like, I just go, "Oh, alright, you don't want it? You sure? Game?" And they're like, "No, I want food." And I go, "Alright, well, let's just go put you away, and maybe next time you play your game." I just put them in. That's what I do.
I've done that with him, and then he just gets sucky and he doesn't, but I also think, in fairness with him, because as a young dog, he was so high, and his tugging would turn into aggression very
Yeah,
quickly.
yep,
I didn't do the toy a lot, I minimized it, and I didn't have separate markers early on,
yep,
and
yep,
with certain exercises, I paired more with a toy and certain more with a food, and he definitely has developed very specific expectations, like, "In this
yes.
situation, you've always given me food, therefore, that's what I expect and want." So
Right,
in that
it's kinda like a patterned reinforcement
Yeah,
history.
so in that case, I feel like it's my fault. I think that eventually I have I think that in his case, I'm letting him choose just because I'm trying to overall give him agency and choice. Do you know what I'm
Yep,
saying? I I
yep.
I want him to think right now that everything is his idea.
Right, right,
And
right.
then I might change later if the relationship has changed, you know what I mean?
Well,
And be
then you
like,
like, if you wanted to change that up and work on that, because it's something I'm always trying to work on too. I don't we That's a whole nother episode, but you could do it outside of your obedience stuff, you know what I mean? Like, you could do it in
right.
other things to work on that aspect, but I totally get what you're saying, like, you want that empowerment feeling for
Right
him.
now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was pretty profound to me is that one of my training partners said to me yesterday, um, she said, "He looks," she at the end of the training session, she goes, "Oh my god, what a difference. He looks completely different. His body looks different.
Yeah.
His whole
Liberated.
body looks more relaxed."
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was, um, I was like, wow. So, it's noticeable to someone else.
Right.
So right now, yeah, I'm doing things that I might not do if I started a dog, or I might not do in certain situations. I'm doing things purposefully now. Like, at one point, I did a front and his front was crooked. I didn't say anything. I just let it go because right now, I don't want to say, "Don't do," "fix it." I will at some point, but right now, I'm working on I just want him to feel good and feel free, um, and just yeah, I just need to shift the work relationship because I don't have this. So Deba mentioned, like, when she goes on hikes, she has them offer engagement. When I hike, like, it's been annoying. He's been doing this for like a month where when I hike, I'm on like these trails that have roots and rocks, and I gotta look where I'm going. He runs in front of me, walks backwards with his toy, and he's like, "Arr, arr, 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 arr," and he wants me to, like, interact with him, so then I have to, like, play with him, and then I'm like, "Go," and then he runs, and then, like, 10 minutes later, he's back doing it again over and he's staring at me in my eyeballs, right?
Yeah. Uh,
So, in that scenario, I don't have that issue. Right? Like,
right.
he's giving me eye contact in everyday life, follows me room to room, stares at me eyeball to eyeball. Somehow I inadvertently poisoned something in my work relationship.
Yep.
So in that relationship, I have I always found that with offering, like I've done this with not so for example, I had a student, she has oh god, I'm gonna say it wrong. I want to say a bull terrier, total non-traditional. I mean, holy Hannah, right? So this dog, they don't retrieve, duh. So I just had her for his meal, the dog knew how to offer, so I just had her put the dumbbell down and eventually he offered to pick it up. And then she would go, "Yes," and give him some of his food. And then he would pick it up and she would go, "Yeah." So she didn't tell him to pick it up. She didn't hold it. She didn't
Right.
put it towards him. She
Right.
just placed it on the ground and she looked at it. Right.
Right.
And the dog is a shaped dog, a dog that understands how to offer behaviors. That dog had an amazing retrieve, beautiful hold, beautiful retrieve. I've done it with my own dogs, like Zaina. Long story, but she was having a problem with her dumbbell and hold and fronting. So I just took the dumbbell, took her in my sunroom, held it in my hand loosely, like not like in the just it was there, waited for her to volunteer to take it. And to this day, I do it as a warm up. I just put the dumbbell down and she like grabs it,
Yeah.
runs into front, pushes it towards me like, "Look, I'm holding it." And her eyes are really bright because she's like, "Look, I'm doing it." Because it's her idea.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I've done that a lot to solve problems or with things the dog's like uncomfortable with. Um,
Yeah, because it builds confidence and it empowers the dog, right? Hugely.
Yeah. So, I mean, first you have to teach your dog how to offer, which a lot of people have trouble with because they have trouble with the waiting piece, right? I think
Yeah,
we
the
talked about
patience. You gotta be
this.
patient. That's the first thing I always say. Like, you need to be patient and not like it's easy because we want to micromanage. You can't.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you gotta stop and let the dog figure it out. Takes a lot of self-control.
Yeah, but letting it be their idea, it has been a game changer. I mean, it's what was a game changer for Zeal when he was worried. I would say, "What can you do?" Like if I left him on signals, turned around and face him, and he looked like he was gonna die, I'd go, "What can you do?" Which is his offering cue. He wouldn't actually even offer a behavior. His attitude would just change, and I'd
Yeah,
go, "Yes."
right.
Right? Because if I turned and said bounce or back up, he'd be like, "Oh god." To him, it was just another like command.
Yeah,
But if I said, "What can you do?" It's weird. He would just like light up like a Christmas tree. And then I could just like mark that
Right.
Because it was really the state of mind that I'm trying to change, right? And which is what I'm trying to do with Ceci, is just, like, change his state of mind about it and make it, like, make him feel like he wants to do it instead of me
Right.
saying, "Let's do
Right.
it."
Well, it's like
So
liberating for him. That's what it is,
yeah.
you know?
Well, and I think it takes the pressure off. I think in his case, it's taking whatever pressure he feels I'm putting on him, it's taking that pressure off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I
Yeah.
could, sit here and argue till the cows come home. Well, no, I don't put pressure on him. I don't say this. I don't do that. Well, it doesn't matter. He thinks I do. So
Exactly.
there you
Right.
go. Right.
Right.
And that's all that matters. So I have to listen to what he's doing.
Yeah, because
Um,
inadvertently, like you said, like, you may not even know where it happened, how it happened, but somewhere along the line it happened. It happened
mhm.
in my relationship with Ever too, in a little bit of a different way, but it's the same thing. So, you using the offering, which is, something that your dogs all know because you taught it, that definitely is gonna help. I have, like, a visual of them, like, in a vice, these poor dogs, like, they're, like, being squeezed
I
however
know
we
it's so hard. Well, I think the work can yeah, it's just so hard. So
well, it's that and, like, you know, we are I mean, it's highly competitive, the stuff that we're doing, like, and we're with whatever we're training, however we're training, there's still that, like, there's always gonna be some sort of pressure in some form, shape, or form that we're trying to meet goals, right? Like, that's a thing. And along the
yeah.
lines, we're only human beings. Like, we do our best, and the welfare of our dogs and making sure that their mental states stay healthy through this stupid fucking thing we ask them to do. But it's hard, and somewhere along the lines, this stuff can leak in, and then it shows up, and it'll show up in the ring, in the test.
And it's also an ego thing, right? Like when someone tells you your dog looks like I forget whatever you guys exactly said, but it's basically like, your dog looks like it's afraid to be wrong, like you put pressure on it. Like
Mhm.
your first reaction is like, "No, I don't. No, I don't. I
Right,
don't. No." And my dog should not feel that way because I don't, and therefore I'm not even gonna
right.
explore this idea, right? Like, it's kinda like, Jesus, like, yeah, like, I have to be honest, like, I even said, I'm like, "I know he looks like that." I'm like, "But I don't do it." But then I have to say, "Okay, like, doesn't matter if I don't put pressure on him." Right? I had to say, "But if he thinks that, then
Right,
I have to put my ego aside and accept that even though I'm uncomfortable saying, like, like, I feel terrible feeling that he feels that way." And I wanna say, "Well, he shouldn't," but he does, and it's not about me or how I feel or what I perceive. It's about how he feels, and so then I need to say, "Okay, then if that's the case, what can I do to make him feel differently?" Right? And I think that is a hindrance for people a lot of times is like,
oh, yes, oh, yes.
right? And like people will ask me for help sometimes. This is like a pet peeve. Look, if you ask me for help, I I'm I help people all the time happily. But if you ask me for help, and as soon as I start making suggestions, you start going, "Well, I already did that, and it's the dog, and that da da da." Well, then forget it. You don't really want my help.
Right, right, because
You're
you gotta put your ego aside. It's our
Mhm.
responsibility, right, in the partnership with our dogs. It's our responsibility, even though it's teamwork, right, and we're partners, it's the human, the handler's responsibility to we have to be humble enough to really look at it for what it is. The honesty factor of what's going on in your training, I mean, it is not comfortable sometimes, like you just said. Like, it was hard to hear that, like, and sometimes it is, but it's on us, our responsibility to put that aside and and figure out where you may not even figure out where it happened, but somewhere along the lines it happened, and we need to figure out how to fix it. That's really the bottom line.
Yeah. So, um, what I thought was interesting is, with you and Ever, like, you were telling me how with her, like, she couldn't even sit still, and you were working on her just getting to sit still. And I don't know, I mean, I understood technically what you were saying, but I was like, I don't understand how that's helping her. But then you made a Facebook post and you were saying that it was an arousal issue.
Mhm.
Like you had, and I think, tell me if inadvertently taught her that when you sit still that she should raise her arousal, but then that would put her into anxiety,
Yeah, it's
kind of, right?
complicated. It's complicated, and s it wasn't until actually Deb, one of our training partners, actually was like, "You need to just have her sit, like, just put her in a sit." It wasn't even in heel position when we, like, messed around with it. Just put her in a sit. You're just gonna feed the sit. The dog couldn't fucking sit. She'd
Because she would offer, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
she
Yeah.
would offer, right? Which is like, she would offer, whether it was like she'd start whining, her feet would start going, the tail would start like, but and Debbie's like, "Well, just have her sit." So I tell her to sit. I could not get past 1 second with this dog without her doing that, right? And then so I thought about it and I'm like, I go back in my head and I'm like, "Well, this is what I did, like all the offering, all the shaping." But I net so what happened is when I would ask her to offer, right? Then it kicks her into a higher arousal, right? And that's where I'm going to start to get some whining, the foot movement. So that had become kind of the pattern in that static position of sit. Does this make sense? It's very
Mhm.
I feel like it's complicated.
No, I understand that because we basically teach our dogs that if we're not doing anything, right,
Yeah.
that you should start to offer behaviors for us. Like, we've
Yeah.
taught them that, right?
And I and that and that's exactly what I did, and then what happened was, I never went and really reinforced, like, that optimal arousal state in a static position where there is no movement or whining, just that beautiful quiet drive. Like, I always go back to that example of a visual of, like, just that working, border collie who just is so still and they're completely focused and they don't move, like that, just that beautiful look. I
Well,
never
because I think in her case, when she puts herself into high arousal or you put her into high arousal and she's in the ring, it spills
Mhm.
into anxiety.
Yeah, I think that can definitely happen, but what I've been figuring out then is because of whoever is, like, she truly cares she cares the most about being right, even in her
Mhm.
life. Like, the dog is just, if she has any inclination that she might not be right, then she worries. And when she does that, then she dips down into low arousal and then she's sucky. And arousal is arousal. So if she's
Mhm.
too low, just the same as she's too high, she's not going to be able to function correctly. So I think what was happening was, I know this is complicated, but this is like where my brain's been going. I'm trying to figure all this out. Like, because I paired so much of the offering, which created the high arousal, in some of that static position, which was the sit, And then I paired all of it with, like, definitely with articles. I trained articles 90% of the time with kicking her into high arousal, even in that static position, so that she would fly out to the pile, like, I wanted speed, fast,
Mhm.
sexy, crazy. I had her barking like a fucking lunatic, like, I didn't train that exercise, like, purposely where it should have been trained for ring picture. So,
Mhm.
I think then what happened was I wouldn't say like I corrected the arousal when she would bark, but then all of a sudden I was asking her because I was like, well, I can't trial her like that, obviously. So she needs to be quiet and still. In her mind, then she was like, fucking A, like, I'm wrong, like I'm being
Mm.
corrected. And then I think that's where it poisoned that exercise. So sitting there in heel position, she didn't know what to fucking do. And so I think her head went into, "Oh my god, I'm wrong." It created enormous pressure sitting there, and it just bled into sucky freaking articles. Like, I don't know for sure. Like, this is where I'm
Well,
at.
it could also be that, like, in the ring a lot of times, she can't put herself like, she'll get flat, and she
Can't
can't
fix.
put herself into high arousal, and then maybe she thinks she's wrong too. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because you
Right.
might give her a pre-cue, or you might be like, "Come on, bump yourself up," and she's like, "I can't," and then when she can't, she's probably immediately thinking, "And therefore, I'm
I'm
wrong."
wrong and yes. Right. Right. That's exactly where I'm at with her, which, like, I know that sounds really complicated to a lot of people, but right now, what I'm doing with her is because that dog will, like, in training, like, even, like, if I just have her sitting there and I look at her long enough, she starts to offer, like, we've
Mhm.
trained all that.
Mhm.
But I need to teach her not to offer. Like, I need to teach and reinforce stillness in optimal arousal in that position, right?
Mhm.
So that's what I've been doing. So she knows what to do. She knows it's correct not to offer. So what I've been doing is literally I can get to 3 or 4 seconds now, which isn't very long. So even when the judge takes the article, sometimes it feels like
Mhm.
forever. I can, like, she's good for a couple seconds and then I can see, like, where she's like, "Oh god, oh god." So it's a work in progress, but I am giving her cues and training. Like, I've been calling it just the doodling stuff where I go set her up. I put all her articles out. I set her up. I do the whole thing. I let her see him. I turn, we sit, and now I'm just giving her a cue. It's kind of stupid. I just rub the side of my leg and I say, 1, 2, sit. 1, 2, because
Mhm.
that's what I've been doing to try to count to see how far I can go. So it's
Mhm.
become a little bit of a verbal cue for her. And then I feed it in training. And then I do a with me, I do another setup. I don't do just relaxed doodling where we're just like moving around. I actually am putting her cues in that I would use in the ring. I'm putting
Mhm.
setup, I'm putting with me so that it's all interactively paired so that we can carry this into the ring, which did help. The last weekend when we were up at Schenectady, I saw, like, there's a lot of work to be done, but I did see a lot of improvement because
Yeah,
she
for
now
sure.
feels better in static position because now she knows what to do, and therefore it then, because the 2 exercises, gloves and articles, is where they have to sit the longest in utility, so that's where I had so much crap, and she'd be sucky on going out to get her whatever article or glove, and then she'd come back all sucky because I saw a huge difference, like, it just, that helping her in that static position bled into the actual exercise because it's not the exercise, like, the dog's trained, and the dog's
Yeah,
been motivated up the like, we
they're
do the
both
games, we
trained,
do all the
yeah.
things. So, it's not the actual exercise, this is where I'm going, where I think this is my problem, it's actually in those little nuances of sitting in a static position with me.
Well, the arousal thing is super tricky, right? Because it's always like we're always trying, we tend, most people, to try and get more arousal, and then you'll get
Right,
it in training. So then in training, you're constantly training the dog in a higher state of arousal, which is fine
right.
if the dog can transfer that state of arousal into the ring. Tyler, um, my dog way back, he was able to do that. He trained in arousal, he worked in arousal, he showed an arousal. So it was
Yep,
all the same. He was an exceptional animal in that sense, right? But what happens with most dogs is that's not the state of arousal they're in when they compete, right?
right.
Now, some dogs go in a higher state of arousal when they compete, some go in a lower state of arousal when they compete. So, if that's the state of arousal they're in when they're competing and you're training in a different state, it's apples and oranges, right? Like,
Completely.
so what you have to do is train your dog in the state of arousal they're going to be in the ring in order to get carryover. So I could train Zesty, like, and push him artificially into arousal, which is what I was doing in training, like I was manufacturing it. And then when I went in the ring, I couldn't manufacture it because he wasn't responding to it, right? And maybe then in that case, he was perceiving that as pressure. But regardless, he was he trials in a different state of arousal. So another thing I had to do was I had to say, I can't keep manufacturing this arousal in training
Right.
because I can't manufacture it in the ring. So what use is it? Like, why am I training him in this state? It's not the same. So I have to get what I want without manufacturing it, right? So I either have to, so in part, I have to train him in lower arousal. So I think the whole thing about, you know, arousal in and of itself is like we have to, we I think people look at it as just like this blanket, simple, like, I tug, my dog is excited, my dog works better, that's the solution, but it's so much more complicated than that.
It is. It is very complicated, and I think what you just said, the way you're training, the apples and oranges, right? Chalk and cheese, as some of them say, like, because it's true, like, that's what kinda happened with Ever, like, I and I love, like, I somebody said to me, "You really do love the high arousal dogs." I do, like, I love training that, like,
Mhm.
that's the dog I love to train, so I'm comfortable there, which means I have to be careful because that's where I like to get them in training. But we have to be realistic because that's exactly the mistake I made with Ever. I had her in way high arousal and training. And then I was like, oh, no, 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 you can't do that in the ring, and never explained any of that or taught her how to work in the arousal state she needs to be in the ring, just like you just said with Zesty. And that's how, when she started to perceive that she was wrong, and that's where I had
Well,
problems.
also you said something which is really important. You're comfortable in high arousal or with
Yeah.
a higher arousal dog, but all dogs are not comfortable in high arousal. So like Zeal, I would be like, "Come on, get high." And then I'd go to teach him something and he'd be like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on a minute." And then he'd go through this elaborate production of sneezing and shaking and all this stuff and bring his arousal down because he's like, "Nope, can't do it in that state of arousal." So didn't matter what I wanted. Like, he was not comfortable there,
Yeah.
right? Like, for a
Right.
lot of his life. And in general, he was not, like, he learned to work in higher arousal, but very high arousal was not his jam. right? So it didn't matter what I wanted or that I like it or that I want my dogs there, right?
Yep.
He is not happy there.
Right. Right.
So we also have to look at that, like where it doesn't matter. Now, it doesn't mean you can't take a dog and teach it to be comfortable in a higher state, but he was never going to work comfortably where Zaina very happily and comfortably works. Like she loves being on the edge of that cliff.
Yeah.
Ideally, she'd go over the cliff. That's her favorite place to be is over
Right.
the cliff in complete and utter chaos. She's happy as a clam there, yelling she loves it there, right?
Right.
So I have my job is that balancing act of the fine line, and I can just, I most of the time she tilts over just that tiny little bit just to take away that extra, little bit in the ring. But she's happy up there. Very happy. That's where I don't even it's not even a problem putting her there because she's like, "This is where I like to be. I'm happy here." Right? And, Zest, I don't think he does not like being where she's at.
Right.
He'd rather similar to Zeal, he can work in higher arousal, but if I get him in too high arousal, it completely degrades. He starts screaming, he starts barking, he starts going, like
Yeah.
this pitchy
Yep.
whine. That's not a good place, or rah, 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 rah. I'm
Right.
like, okay, right? So he can't be there. He needs to be somewhere lower down. Now, part of it is because I've worked him a lot in more moderate arousal, but part of it I think is like and in life, if he spills into super high arousal, it's like 0 and you can't even penetrate at that moment. It's like he can't even hear you.
Right.
So all dogs like Stormy can function in high arousal. Like
Right.
she likes it there. That's where she's
Yes.
happy. But every dog that yes, they can get there, but can they function there? Every dog can't.
I agree. And that's actually what I'm really seeing a lot with Salty, the puppy, because he he can go to high arousal super fucking fast, but when he goes there, it's not comfortable for him. He starts screaming, he can't think, and the work because of I think just the genetics, the work kicks him there really fast. So I have to be really careful on my training strategies with him because I need like like right now all I'm working on with him is just doing behaviors in optimal arousal. Like
Uh-huh.
because and I have to be really careful because I like that high arousal,
Uh-huh.
as you guys know, and you're like, "Dude." So I have to be mindful, even though it feels fun and glamorous, it's not how this dog is gonna be able to he can't properly function that way, which I see, like, even doing articles, like, if he's too high, he can't do them. So, I do a lot of work right now with him, just working him in and helping him be in a good state of mind, whether it's just going from a platform to a platform, which is what I now have out. Like, even if I'm gonna go do an actual training segment of a piece of a exercise or behavior, obedience behavior, if I see that state going up because the work kicks him there, I take him out of that, like, doing the formal pieces, and I just do some work, like that doodling stuff.
Uh-huh.
Because he goes there I think he goes there because like I said, like genetically the work takes him there. Like that's what he's been bred to do
Mhm.
sort of. But he can't operate there. You know what I mean? He
I
can't
also
comfortably
think
operate.
with a lot of dogs, like with Zeal, his he did everything in the ring really fast, but that came of it all on its own over time when he got really confident with the exercise.
Yep.
So when over time, like, I mean, he did things so painfully slow, it was like my eyes were bleeding. I was dying inside. Like, it was horrible. It was slow,
Well,
right?
because see, you're not comfortable there.
No,
Like
I'm
you
not
don't
because
like
I
that.
want it fast and relaxed, but it was horribly slow. But I just was like, "All right, whatever. Just shut up. Just deal with it," right? And then once he learned it, it would get a little bit faster. And then he got more comfortable and he'd get a little faster. And then when he was like, I know what to do, he got really fast, all on his own. Like, I'm not saying,
Yep.
yes, I did games and stuff like that, but, um, like my training in essence didn't change. It just, he changed all on his own, right? Like, as he got more and more confident and more comfortable, he got faster and faster. And so with in some situations, like I have a student with a border collie and dude, they are insane with the dumbbell. So,
Right.
so totally counterintuitive. I said to her, do not restrain this dog. Do not fire this dog up for this dumbbell. Just train it calm, back chain it, right? And this is a very thoughtful border collie. The dog doesn't want to be wrong, right? It's very soft. But I was like, yeah. And in my head, there's part of me that's like, oh God, I hope you don't like ruin this person's dumbbell where the dog trots out, trots back for the rest of its career, right? No, all on its own. Dog's getting faster. In fact, dog's already starting to want to anticipate the retrieve. And she's done no games, no drive building, no
Yep.
restraining, right? Because it's in the dog already genetically. Like,
Correct.
it's just that's how the breed is with these things. And even though this dog is on the softer side, more thoughtful side, and so on, it's coming on its own, right? And so even with some breeds that aren't prone to high arousal or that kind of thing, confidence builds speed,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
confidence and understanding their job, which takes a while, um, will bring in a lot of cases, things will get faster because the dog's like, oh, especially if we're very clear and clean with our training and consistent with our information, the dog will just get faster on its own.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it's yeah, like you said with the border collie, like it's easy it's easy to wanna, like, like, with you just don't need with a Ferrari, you don't need to step on the gas hard, you don't need to put the fuel on the fire, it's there already, right? And you can easily kick it out of orbit and then have a lot of problems down the road, but you're right, like, with other dogs, like, just confidence building will, like, innately, organically build more speed. Definitely.
Yeah, and
Uh,
again, it's that patience thing. It's not us trying to, because like in some cases, especially with dogs that aren't Ferraris, right? Like, but even I think what happened with Zesty, like we're trying to get speed. So in a lot of cases, I think they start perceiving that as pressure. And then that has either the opposite effect, they slow down more,
yep.
or they'll go faster, but there's that element of anxiety in there, and that causes a whole host of other problems. Um, in both cases, it's a manifestation of pressure where we're trying to artificially create something that maybe the dog in that moment is not ready for. Like maybe they're like, I don't understand the job well enough, or okay, I'm still at a point in my learning where I'm thinking about what I'm doing,
Right.
or I don't want to be wrong, so I'm overthinking. Like, and whatever the case, the dog's words just like, come on, do it fast. And the dog's like, not in a mental place where they're innately able to do it quickly yet. And so then that causes pressure or
Yep.
conflict.
Definitely. Definitely. It's hard. Dog training's fucking hard.
That's what we should have named the podcast, because I feel like every week that's what we say. We're like, we should not have, we should have named it Dog Training is Hard because it's like all we ever say.
We say it all the time. Oh my god. But
All
that's
right,
good stuff.
guys,
Yeah.
that's where we're at.
Been on that for a while.
To be continued because it's not done.
Never ending.
Never ending.
Thanks.
All right,
Bye.
thanks everybody. Bye.